Deep beneath the ground, secrets sit in silence, waiting for the one lucky excavation that forces us to rethink what we thought was settled. Today, we're opening the case files on ancient winged wonders animals that sound impossible until a slab of rock politely disagrees. These fossils are pushing scientists to reconsider how flight evolved, revealing a prehistoric sky that was far stranger and far more inventive than our modern instincts suggest. The ancient sky wasn't just a stage for giants. It was also a vault. Layer after layer of stone, preserved experiments, detours, and creative solutions to the same problem. How do you leave the ground and stay up there? Prehistoric flight wasn't a straight road from not flying to flying perfectly. It looks more like a branching network of roots and dead ends. Nature improvised, and every so often it did it in a way that makes experts pause and admit, well, that's new. Yes, we meet the famous names. Pteranodon with a wingspan near 7 meters, cruising above ancient seas like a living glider. Quetzalcoatlus, the giant that may have reached around 11 meters, big enough to feel unreal until you remember the fossils are very real. But the story doesn't belong only to the enormous. Smaller species and weirder designs often carry the biggest clues because that's where evolution tries out ideas before committing to a blueprint. Fossils from the late Triassic, roughly 220 million years ago, hint that aerial life may have surged quickly once the right anatomical pieces appeared. Rather than a slow, gentle climb toward flight, the record suggests a burst of experimentation. One key fossil is Ixolerpeton, a close relative of pterosaurs that couldn't yet fly. Even so, its skull hints at early upgrades for an airborne future, sharper vision, better balance, and neural wiring that looks like a stepping stone toward true flight. For a long time, many scientists assumed real flight demanded a large bird-like brain. After all, steering a body through three-dimensional space is complicated. But pterosaur fossils complicate that expectation. They seem to have flown successfully with smaller brains than modern birds, focusing heavily on vision and equilibrium. In other words, nature built a remarkably efficient aircraft without installing every premium feature, and it still flew. One more clue lies in the hardware that keeps an animal level. In many pterosaurs, the inner ear and the regions of the skull linked to balance seem tuned for aerial life, even when the overall brain is not oversized. It's less bigger computer and more better sensors. That helps explain how a creature could bank, pitch, and roll without the processing power of a modern gull. And then there's takeoff, the moment when physics stops being polite. Evidence and modeling suggest many pterosaurs launched like athletes using all 4 limbs in a powerful vault, rather than flapping from a standing start like an awkward chicken. Imagine a pole vaulter but with membranes. It's a reminder that flight is not just about wings. It's about the whole body working as a system, from muscle to bone to timing, with zero tolerance for hesitation. Add in sharp eyesight, lightweight hollow bones, and a membrane that can flex with the wind, and you get a flyer that doesn't need feathers to be elegant, just the right toolkit today. Then come the anatomical curveballs. Yi Qi from China about 160 million years ago shows a wing arrangement unlike the standard pterosaur membrane. It had elongated fingers supporting a stretched skin surface, plus a peculiar rod-like bone, called a styloform element that helped tension the membrane and shape the wing. The overall design carries a bat-like flavor, an unexpected Jurassic twist, especially when we're used to thinking in neat categories like bird or pterosaur. At first, plenty of researchers were skeptical. Limb proportions like that can look awkward on paper. How could such a creature generate lift and control itself mid-air? But the fossils kept arguing back. CT scans and reconstructions point to a workable aerodynamic surface. The leading idea is that Yi Qi relied heavily on gliding, perhaps launching from height and riding air currents rather than beating its wings continuously. Different physics, same destination, the sky. Now slide to Ambopteryx longibrachium, described in 2019 from a similar region. Again, we see long forelimbs and a membranous wing, but now paired with primitive feathers. It's a strange hybrid, like evolution was mixing ingredients from two recipes just to see what would work. Was Embopteryx a short-lived experiment, or a distinct branch with its own rules? The fossil record doesn't give us a label. It gives us a puzzle. Scale changes everything, so let's bring in the giants again. Hatzegopteryx, found in Romania, may have reached a wingspan around 10 meters with a long neck and a skull built like a reinforced beam. Crucially, its limb bones, especially the femur, appear robust, suggesting it could move confidently on land. That matters because older models sometimes treated giant pterosaurs as almost purely aerial, as if they were too delicate to walk. Hatzegopteryx hints at a versatile lifestyle, walking, feeding, and then launching into the air with a powerful takeoff. It turns the giant pterosaur from a fragile kite into an athlete. This is where the scientific drama warms up. Evidence like this triggers a familiar sequence: doubt, debate, modeling, and gradual acceptance. Three-dimensional simulations test takeoff and flight performance, and many results point toward efficient soaring. These giants likely exploited thermal updrafts much like modern raptors do. When you're that large, letting rising warm air do some of the lifting isn't cheating. It's good aeronautics. Now for smaller, nimble flyers and their unexpected solutions. Onorognathus, a small pterosaur from Germany about 150 million years ago, had a wide mouth, big eyes, and short wings. It likely hunted insects on the wing in a way that feels familiar if you've watched bats zigzag at dusk. No feathers needed here. Lift came from flexible membranes stretched between limbs, thin, delicate-looking, yet highly responsive. Models suggest these membranes could change shape under airflow, building lift as they curve, much like a flexible aircraft wing. That flexibility may have helped it turn quickly while chasing prey. Discoveries in the Arabian region expand the cast. Inabtanin al Arabia, with an estimated wingspan around 5 meters, had wing bones that seem slender yet strong, consistent with an active flyer capable of powerful wing beats. Contrast that with Aramborgiania philadelphiae from Jordan, a much larger pterosaur that may have approached 10 meters. Its sturdier build suggests long-distance soaring. Simulations imply Inabtanin relied on stronger flapping for takeoff and quick turns, while Aramborgiania likely soared like a seabird, using coastal winds and sea thermals to travel far with minimal effort. To make that diversity feel real, picture Tapera from Brazil about 110 million years ago, moving above a tropical canopy with an enormous crest rising from its head. At a glance, it looks like pure showmanship, but in nature, flashy often doubles as functional. That crest may have helped with balance and control in shifting air, improving stability during maneuvers. Place Tapera beside membrane-winged insect hunters, soaring giants, and odd hybrids like Embopteryx, and the message is clear: prehistoric flight was a catalog of solutions, not one design repeated. The air itself had niches, and evolution filled them. And here's the larger point: recent fossils are dismantling the idea that flight evolved as one clean, linear progression. Instead, we see a branching network with multiple independent solutions, convergent evolution in action. Different lineages faced similar opportunities and found their own ways to get airborne. Seoptera evansi from Scotland, dated to roughly 168 million years ago, appears transitional between long-tailed pterosaurs like Rhamphorhynchus, whose stiff tail helped stabilize flight, and more derived forms like Pterodactylus first. Described from Germany, with broader wings and an elongated wing finger supporting the membrane. Seoptera pushes advanced pterosaurs earlier than once expected by about 10 million years. Another bridge is Darwinopterus from China, combining a large, more advanced head with a long, more primitive tail. That mosaic anatomy hints that evolution doesn't always remodel the whole body at once. Sometimes, it upgrades one module while leaving another in an older form, as if the blueprint is being revised in stages. The result is an aerial ecosystem richer than we once imagined, with different species carving out different roles. Consider Dimorphodon, with 2 distinct tooth types, sharp teeth at the front, and flatter ones toward the back. That suggests a flexible diet and possibly a flexible lifestyle, hunting on the ground, then taking to the air when needed. Broader geographic signals keep expanding too. Helischia petersini from Australia, with a wingspan around 4.6 meters and sharp teeth, shows pterosaurs spread widely and adapted to marine environments. And Eotephrodactylus mesenteriae from Arizona, dated to about 209 million years ago, sits close to the base of the evolutionary tree, suggesting flight appeared early and decisively. And don't forget Peridaustro from Argentina, the pterosaur, with more than 1,000 needle-like teeth forming a comb for filter feeding. Fossils suggest it filtered food from water, then still took off and flew. It's hard not to smile at the image of a flying animal equipped with what looks like a built-in sieve. But biologically, it's brilliant. A specialized feeding strategy paired with aerial mobility, proving that weird can be wildly successful. So where does all this leave us? With a humbling conclusion, nature's capacity for innovation is enormous, and prehistoric flight showcases that creativity in full. From Desungaripterus with thick teeth adapted for crushing hard-shelled prey, to Anhangera santanae from Brazil, preserved in exquisite three-dimensional detail. Each fossil fragment is a story about problem-solving, how to eat, how to move, how to survive, and sometimes how to dominate the air. And there is still so much waiting underground. With high-resolution CT scanning, digital reconstruction, and AI-assisted simulation, scientists can test flight performance, stress patterns, and movement with increasing precision. New finds like Scyphosaura from Germany help fill evolutionary gaps, and late surviving diversity is hinted at by taxa, such as Infernodrocon from Canada, showing that pterosaurs still had surprises right to the end of the Cretaceous. The past, it seems, kept its receipts. Those open questions are what make this field feel like a continuing expedition rather than a closed book. So if you're watching for the next twist, stay with the story, because every new fossil is a quiet reminder that the past still holds surprises and that the prehistoric sky is not done rewriting itself in stone.